Welcome to our Coaches Corner call. This time, our topic of discussion is understanding coach education. So, whether that be for somebody new to coaching, wanted to know where to start, or somebody already involved in cycling, wanted to upskill themselves or explore different disciplines, this is hopefully the call for you. I'm pleased to have along with us tonight our Welsh-based British cycling tutor, Lesley. I always get it wrong. Linley, that's right. Okay, you've got lots of other roles I know in cycling, so a very experienced person. So without further ado, I'm literally going to pass over to you, Lesley, um, and then we'll go. Do you want to do a bit of a
Yeah,
introduction
we'll do.
and then who you are?
Croeso pawb. It's really nice to see lots of you online. Let me introduce myself. So, Mark said I am not Welsh born, but Welsh based. Made the move across to the better side of the border. I live up near Carnarvon, so nearly as far northwest as you can get. My cycling journey is reasonably short in terms of getting back on a bike. I cycled as a kid, like most kids do, and then as a teenage girl, I lost the love and came back to it in adult life. Traditionally, I guess my disciplines are road and track, but I am just starting to learn some stuff around BMX freestyle, which is radically different to what I'm used to, but quite exciting to learn. I work as a people development consultant, so I do consultancy around training, people development, learning, a little bit of HR in my not cycling world. And then in the cycling world, I work for British Cycling as a coach and commissaire educator. So I am a track, road and circuit official as well as a coach. And have been doing that for about 4 years. So originally delivered the old system of levels, now deliver the new pathway. So have been kind of through that change that we're working our way through now. So I'm really pleased to be invited by Mark and the team to come and talk to you. Kind of what we'll do this evening is work through what the new pathway looks like, how the modules all sit together, how you can tap into it, dependent on where you're at in your coaching journey now, and where you can tap out of it when you are ready to. So if you think of questions while I'm talking away, pop them in the chat for me if you can, or hold on to them as thoughts, and then we'll do all the questions. We'll open up to the floor after I have PowerPointed you. So without further ado, let's look at that PowerPoint. So what I really want to get out of this evening is hopefully just to kind of lay out what the coaching framework looks like now, how it works, how it can work for you. Each of the modular sections of it, where you can tap in and out, and then we'll answer any questions, confusion that there might be. We'll get clarification. I'm not necessarily sure that I'm going to be able to answer all of your questions, but the ones I can't answer, I will write down and take away with me so that I can find answers, get them back to you via Mark. So the new framework, there was a recognition that we wanted to have a more modular approach. You can tap in and tap out, where we could blend the format of it, so not necessarily have everybody traveling to everywhere all the time, and where we start to bring slightly different perspectives around learning into that. So we went out and did some consultation with coaching communities, with some external partners, and worked out that we could break our coaching journey down into 5 modules where we build knowledge and skills over time. So what our coaches said from those consultations was that they wanted to be discipline specific earlier, that they wanted to think about the coaching process about how to plan and deliver relevant sessions, how we make our riders feel really valued, bringing in some of our creativity and critical thinking into those coaching and education sessions, and how we build relationships. So that was some of the stuff that they told us. What we started to do is think about, how do we do this where we recognize and really push that coaching is a collaborative process, it's person-centered, it uses lots of reflection. So how do we bring our reflection into the education of coaches? That we wanted to be discipline specific really early, which is what we've done, and that we've introduced a formative assessment. So when you come on a coaching course, in the olden days of levels, you would have some development stuff, and then you would have what was called an assessment day. Now, those words make a lot of people more nervous. They maybe don't perform on that day as well as they would do normally. So what we've really started to concentrate on and develop is about formative assessment. So as tutors, we assess the group all the way through the course in how they participate, how they ask questions. Not necessarily that, gosh, Bob got that answer wrong, because it's not about that, but how do we get involved in the discussion? And then within our coaching on the development day as well. So that's kind of the philosophy that came along with how do we make this hopefully better. You may have seen recently that we have released new coach guidelines for existing and for new coaches, and I will come back to those later. Nudge me at the end, Mark, if I don't, but we'll make reference to them. I'll try and make reference as we go through as well. So let's have a look at that whole framework. Somebody's done something magic with boxes here. So the framework as it sits is modular, develops your practice and your knowledge and therefore your technical remit over time. If you were to complete all 5 modules, you would then qualify to have the British Cycling Coach Award. You can tap in and out of certain bits at certain times, which is why we've done the modular approach. If you're already a qualified coach on the old levels, as we called them, there are various points at which you can dip into that program, into that framework. I'll try and cover some of them as we go through this evening, but there is always the message that the team in Manchester are happy to answer any questions from, like, if you have specific questions that I can't answer tonight or that you know from somebody else, that they can answer those and help you work out which bits might be right for you to enter that framework. So let's start with introduction to coaching then. That intro to coaching is the initial tap in for lots of different people, actually. It is coaching in the discipline right from the very beginning. So I did my level 1 and then I did my level 2, but I never actually discipline specific because then the framework changed. Whereas now introduction to coaching starts you off in your chosen discipline at that point, which for lots of us that already do specific disciplines rather than just kind of some of those foundational cycling skills, that's really crucial. Why not start on a mountain bike or on a track rather than having to do all the other levels of coaching first? It's an accessible entry point. It consists of some e-learning modules that really give some foundations of coaching. 3 virtual seminars where you come along and discuss different topics around the how, the who, the what, and the coaching, and then a development day. So you come and join us for a day, and that's where you do your coaching practice, any practical stuff. We've had People who have pre-qualified on level 1 or level 2 join us on Introduction to Coaching and have given us some really positive feedback in terms of how it has further developed what they knew already. So just because it says Introduction to Coaching, don't necessarily rule it out as being too early on a pathway for you if you've got some experience already. Now, in terms of tapping out of the framework, you could come along, do Introduction to Coaching in your chosen discipline, and then you can tap out of the framework. That qualifies you as an activity coach within the remit in your discipline. You can do certain things in certain terrains. If you're happy that that's as far as you want your coaching to go right now, in terms of qualifications, and you want to go out there and just coach, that's great. Well done. Have an activity coach award. And for lots of people who are new to coaching, new to cycling, but want to get more involved, that's a really great place to be. You can still coach independently, so you don't have to be an assistant coach to anybody. You can do your own thing within the remit of that activity coach level. So it sits now under all of those disciplines. Gravity and gravel gravity is starting to come online now as well. So BMX freestyle and race, cycle speedway, cycling used to be called multidiscipline, but we found that was really confusing to lots of us and lots of other people. So cycling is that real fundamental bike riding techniques. And then off-road, road, which includes mountain bike and cross, and then road and track. I will share the PowerPoint with Mark after tonight as well. So that link at the bottom gives access to a PDF document that talks through the roles and remits of each of those disciplines if you've done Introduction to Coaching. Okay, so let's tap back into that framework. And let's move on to coaching in context. So coaching in context mirrors all of those disciplines on that previous slide, apart from the cycling, the multi, what as was multi. And that's because we want people to focus their full coach award, if you choose to go on and do that full coach award in a particular discipline, because that gives you a specialism. So there's no cycling, but the rest of the disciplines are in coaching in context. In fact, the pilot of gravity for coaching in context is going on this week, so that should come online too. So coaching in context is that next step along the pathway or the framework. It's aimed at anybody who is currently active in their coaching in that discipline and has some experience. So it could be that if you were a level 2 discipline specific coach and still are, that you might tap into coaching in context. You are, so in terms of kind of the feedback that we've got from the pilot courses and the early courses, is that people have said there's a real clear need for coaches to be actively engaged in their specific discipline in order to apply the stuff that's done on the course. It could be in participation coaching, it could be in racing, doesn't matter which, and you're expected throughout that course to coach a group of riders in a discipline, as well as using footage to inform your coaching and your learning. So you have to be doing the do already. There is a requirement that you have 100 hours of practical experience of coaching before you come on to coaching in context. Now, that 100 hours doesn't have to be 100 solid hours of standing in a field, standing on a trackside, standing in a car park, standing on a closed road circuit on a BMX track. It can include your prep and planning time, some of your reflection time from your coaching sessions. It can also include any continuing professional development that you might have done. So different kind of elements of coach learning that you might have done as well. Essentially, it's that recommended self-check that you're ready to step out of your current coaching kind of comfort zone and experience and really progress that. So it builds on Introduction to Coaching. There was previously a kind of recognised prior learning offer, but that has now finished. So coaching in context comes along for those people who have been coaching in their discipline, you're properly engaged in that, and you really want to push that concept of kind of learning more and growing on what you do and you know already. So coaching context, while I'm here, consists of some e-learning modules and 2 Zoom seminars, and then 2 development days. So you would come and join us for a little bit more time at a venue. Let's dip back into that framework then. So next up is unlocking learning for coaching. Actually, you don't have to be working towards the Coach Award to do this if you don't want to. It can be extra bit of CPD for you. It's accessible to all coaches to develop practice. And it's about kind of exploring how people learn, how this can develop and inform our coaching practice and the development of our riders. It's a great opportunity for experienced coaches from across all disciplines to come together, share experiences, learn from each other. So it's a little bit of peer learning. It is releasing soon, so it should be available for dates shortly. It will consist of, again, a little bit of e-learning, a couple of tutor guided seminars, and a face-to-face day to do that observation, reflection, connection, peer learning. So you can kind of see the theme here is about blended learning, a little bit of e-learning that you do in your own time, a few seminars with us, and some face-to-face connection time. So 4th up on our modular framework then is experiential learning. So this is a module where if you're working towards your coach award, this is where you get to put it all together and evidence that development and that learning journey. So right from Introduction to Coaching, we introduce reflective practice, reflecting on our coaching sessions, some of that plan, do, review stuff, but also what went well, what didn't, what might I do differently next time. And that really brings through in the experiential learning module, plays that key role for development of coaches. And experiential learning is about building your portfolio of evidence that goes towards your coaching award. You can choose 2 routes for experiential learning. One is where you build your own portfolio and then submit that. And the other is a supported program with a coach developer. So you'd have that coach developer time available to you to support you to build that portfolio of evidence. And then underpinning all of these is understanding your domain. So let's step out of the framework a little bit and say understanding your domain is a series of e-learning modules that can be done completely independently of any other coach award. You could just do one of those domain modules. It's open to anybody, regardless of discipline, experience. And they target certain topics that might be relevant to you as a coach. So they typically last 2 or 3 hours. So it's an e-learning, you do it in your time, 2 or 3 hours, about a specific topic. It includes videos, it includes some reflective questions. We've really drawn outside of the education team traditionally and gone out to some experts in their field to support us to do these. If you are working towards the Coach Award, you need to complete a minimum of 3 domain learning modules or units. But you could do more. And if you're not working towards your Coach Award and you're just happy to do some coaching, not necessarily work towards that bigger award, then they can give you some extra information. So there's a selection of what either exists or is in the pipeline. So there's some performance nutrition exists already, supporting our young female riders, and concussion are all there already, amongst lots of other things. In the pipeline at the moment is supporting children and young people, supporting neurodiversity, supporting female riders at menopause and post-menopause. I think further down the pipeline there is planned for the 3rd edition of the supporting female riders in terms of through pregnancy and postpartum. But we're always open to hearing from our coach population about what other specific topics would be really useful. And then we can go out and see whether we can make that happen. That's the point at which, folks, I'm going to switch the PowerPoint off, other than to say the floor is open for your questions. I'm about right. I was about right with 20 minutes, Mark, wasn't I? There we go.
Bang on, I reckon. It's good going. So
Good.
we did have some guys join maybe after you'd started. Hopefully they've got the bulk of the presentation from the beginning. I think everyone did. So yeah, so hopefully that's made it a bit more clear for you guys. If or maybe it's completely thrown you off and you go, oh my God, this is even more confusing now than I initially thought. But please, there's no silly questions. Please ask, give us the scenario that you're in, what you guys want. I know I had a bit of a conversation with Adele before we kind of started, and she was telling us a bit about the group of people she's with and what she thinks they need. It could be you, it could be an individual need, it could be your club's need. Please ask. Anyone want to go first? Hopefully you do. Otherwise, I'll pick on people. Marcus, no, yeah.
Right,
We got someone else. Sharon.
Okay. We're attached with a club that runs the club training sessions on a Wednesday evening down at Tameside, which is an off-road enclosed circuit. Obviously, it's road type cycling. We've unfortunately been in a situation where we've lost 2 or 3 of our level 1 coaches recently for various reasons, moving and things like that, or a couple of them are on holiday at the moment, which has meant we're a bit sort of short of coaches. And we've I've been talking since last year, but with these new modules coming in, it was difficult to know when and what and how to start coaching session, learning about coaching. But it's now becoming a little bit more critical. Now, from what I understand, from what Lesley said, that introduction to coaching, does that take you to a level where you could then be able to do basically what's the equivalent of, seems to be the level 1 at the moment, which is
so
at least do some coaching
what, Sharon, what club were you with, did you say?
Mosley.
Oh, all right. So you're not right. Obviously, this is a Beicio Cymru call. Mosley,
yes,
is that in Wales?
Yeah.
Is that in Wales?
Sorry?
Where
no, I'm afraid it's not. It's Manchester. It's just that fine. Somebody I know from from British Cycling put the link up.
That's absolutely fine, and it's all relevant. The only difference would be is maybe some questions around funding, and that would be slightly
I wouldn't worry
different.
about that because I think the club would fund it anyway.
Oh, yeah, great. I got all the money in the world. That sounds fantastic. So Lesley,
I don't know about that, but
that's absolutely fine. It's definitely a relevant question. I just wanted to have a bit of a context of where you're based. There we go, Lesley.
So intro to coach. Well, it's an interesting one, really, because intro to coaching in its remit gives a little bit more than level 1 did, but not quite what level 2 did. So with an intro to coach, even if somebody was a level 1, like, and they say, actually, I have got time, but I need a bit of a refresh, or they're new to coaching, intro to coach is great. It takes you right from, I've never coached a group of riders, but I can ride a bike and I know what I'm doing, right from there to being able to independently coach a group of up to, dependent on the discipline, up to 20, but normally the mean is around 12 to 16 riders. You can coach independently as a group. So you could have somebody that's come through level 1, that's come through intro to coach, feels confident. They could have a group of their own. So you don't have to have them as an assistant coach or a helper or anything like that. They can then go straight into independently coaching if they're happy to and you're happy for them to. So it feels like the group of people from the club who might be interested in starting that coaching journey, intro to coach would absolutely be bob on for them. And I would say, in terms of Tameside, you could do either the cycling discipline, those fundamentals, or you could focus straight in on road. And if they're thinking that they might want to progress further down that framework, I would probably say road rather than cycling. But it would give them the ability to plan sessions, rock up at Tameside on your, what did you say, Wednesday nights? Wednesdays?
Yeah, Wednesday night sessions. And we also have some on a Saturday morning that's neurodiverse.
Wow.
We're connected with, Mosley is particularly connected with the neurodiverse group and the Special Olympics.
Wow. So, yes, intro to coaching, I guess road would be a great place for those folks to start. Does that answer your question, Sharon?
Yeah, and that's it. But what I'm saying is that would then mean that once you've done that introduction to cycling, you could start doing the coaching to help support the club.
Absolutely, yeah. They
without going on further if you didn't wish.
And if they don't ever wish to go on further, they can coach for as long as they want to on that course. So they come and do introduction to coaching. They then are an activity coach, but that absolutely means that they can come and coach at sessions at Tameside.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. On to the next. So, Marcus, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I got to sort of follow on. Thank you, Marcus. Follow on to that, really, Lesley. So, if you do the intro to coaching, as you progress through the other, or if you want to progress through the levels, how does the remit change?
The remit grows, dependent on the discipline.
Yeah.
The remit grows. So, let me open. So,
from a personal perspective, is mountain biking I'm interested in, really, I suppose.
I will, in a moment, I'm going to try and post a link to the new coaching guidelines, because that really helpfully actually now shows the remit of an activity coach. So you've done your intro to coaching. It shows you what an old level 2 discipline specific coach can do and what somebody who's done coaching in context can do. But it essentially grows for you in terms of mountain bike. It grows the amount of techniques you can do, and it will also grow your terrain a little bit. So,
yeah, I'm a sort of level 3 mountain bike guide, so I assume it's similar to that, 2, 3 wheels on the ground, that type of thing.
in terms of all the disciplines, the activity coach has not a small but a fundamental remit. So for instance, it might be the cycling one, what was multi. You can do things like cornering, braking, gearing, ascending, and then some group riding, but it must be rollable terrain.
Yeah, okay.
And then as you do more in terms of the coaching context, those techniques, you'll be able to do more techniques on potentially more difficult terrain. So
And more remote probably, is it as well?
yeah, so for you things like bigger drop-offs,
Yeah, okay.
that kind of stuff. Does that make sense, Marcus?
Yeah, okay. It's just, if that link, I could sort of pitch where potentially I think I want to go with it.
I've actually done the off-road intro course.
Oh, right. We've got an expert then, Jay.
No, I've only just done it. So certainly not an expert mountain biker, but yeah, it was really interesting, and it did have a very different feel to it, to the multi-course I did with Lesley. I'd highly recommend it. It's a very, very good course. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you.
Marcus, so far as I know that you do have a coach qualification, so let's put that out to the floor, Lesley. So somebody coming from, like, Marcus is obviously an experienced mountain biker. He's a ride leader. Is that the British Cycling Ride Leader course you've done?
It's British Cycling Level 3 motorbike leader. Okay.
Yeah, so it is a British cycling course. Yeah, okay, class. And you've coached in other sports. I know that much. So far as then, where would Marcus enter this pathway, Lesley? Where would, because you don't have any cycle specific coaching qualifications.
It's just the level 1 triathlon coaching, is it, Mark?
Yeah, that's the one. So where would Marcus enter then at this point, or anybody really?
I would say probably be really beneficial actually to start at the beginning and do intro to coaching. And from two perspectives for me, actually, partially because having that grounding basis helps us to develop, but it also gives us that really nice opportunity to prove to us what we know already. So some of that, oh yeah, I've been doing that right in my other sports, or I've been thinking about that in the right way. So it's not necessary. I think on intro to coach, we set it out to everybody's welcome to come and join the framework at that point, to give that fundamental grounding. And the feedback that we've had from people who were previously qualified as level 2 not discipline specific coaches have been like, actually I've learned loads. It's reinforced the things that I knew I was doing well, but actually I've learned loads about kind of different topics as well. So I would say intro to coaching is a really great place to start for anybody, unless you're already massively immersed in coaching in a discipline already.
Cool.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Next question. Hopefully, I see Nicola's hand up. I assume you want to ask a question. Nicola Carr, over to you.
Yeah, I just wanted to know. I've been new to it. I'm road specific or cyclocross, and I'd like to know the first part of call. Really, I'm just outside Carnarvon actually, and I've just moved back home a year ago. But about 3 years ago, they had a couple of courses in Bangor, but they haven't had any since. So are there any plans to have any nearer to where I am?
What courses were you looking for then?
The introduction would be my first part of call.
There have been some planned courses up at Marsh Tracks in North Wales, and part of what we wanted to do with this call really is to see what the demand was, because the courses that we did organise there, for whatever reason, the demand wasn't there then for filling the spaces. And obviously there's a certain amount of people that's required for the course to run. It doesn't work if one person turns up, and financially it doesn't work for, a British cycling educator to come along, book the venue and things. So, there will hopefully be plans for a course in North Wales before the end of the year. And now I know that you're interested, Nicola.
I can probably get a few more people that will be interested as well.
There we go.
So
Okay.
How many would you need to run the course?
Okay. So yeah. So
per tutor we'd go with 8. So maximum of 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, I reckon we would run it with what?
5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
and if are you part of a club then, Nicola? Are you part of a club, or is it just?
I've only just moved back, but I'm thinking of joining a club.
Okay.
I am part of a social riding club.
Right. Okay.
But I am going to start training so that I can start racing, hopefully over this winter for next season.
Okay. So yeah, well, we
Marsh Track Circuit Series, and
I was just going to say
Marsh Tracks next year. Yeah, I would say Intercoach Coaching Road we do at Marsh Tracks. So if Mark's got your name on a list, then when one gets booked, then we can be in touch. Off road, they often use Coy de Brennan.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So there's a page, the education page is on the British Cycling website. I'll put the link up in a second. They have, I think, pretty much most of their 2025 courses planned already. But if you keep hold of that link, and then they'll update it as they book into the future. So you can get them on there.
I can put that in now, the chat, the course finder.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Nicola, that'd be really good. From a kind of up here perspective, and the more people you can get, the more the merrier.
Yeah, brilliant. If you can, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'd be able to fill that course with interest.
Okay. Well, what I've done, Nicola, okay, I think I can pull your email from your registration for this call this evening. However, I put my email in there as well. So I don't know whether you just want to email me to say,
okay, yeah,
is that all right? But if
yeah,
just in case it disappears after the call's finished. And we'll do that way. Please just send me an email. I know that you're interested, and then what we can try to do then, and as it goes, Lesley is the educator who quite often covers the courses up that area, so we can try and work with the venue, with Lesley, with the guys who are interested to get a mutual date almost that's going to work. And that's part of the other issue. We book courses, people want to do them, they can't do the date that we've got. Do you know what I mean? So the clashes, and it is difficult. There's lots of moving parts. Okay. But thank you very much. We'll try and help you with your coaching journey by getting something local up at North Wales for you. Okay?
Thank you. The second part of my question also is funding in Wales for the coaching courses.
So the current funding options available to learners in Wales, British Cycling have a bursary scheme, which they've just launched for volunteers. However, that's funded by Sport England, and that's not something that we're able to fund here in Wales through Beicio Cymru. However, what we do have access to is the Be Active Wales Fund. However, that's generally through clubs, registered clubs of British Cycling based in Wales. So if you were part of a club, they could apply for a grant through the Be Active Wales funding scheme for a number of coaches, and then it gets processed. The new funding window opens back up in July, and then obviously the value or whatever course you wanted to do hopefully would be successful. I can't see why it wouldn't be for growing and developing the sport. You could get it that way. Otherwise, obviously, it's privately funded, but by yourself as an individual. So I guess you are, if you're not part of a club, you'd have to look down the option of funding it yourself. If you were attached to a club and they were looking at recruiting new coaches, which lots of them are, they could explore and look at them funding options through the Be Active Wales Fund.
Okay, thank you.
Unless Lesley knows of any money anywhere else, they're potentially so there has, previously there has been like money and schemes, and I think it was either last year or the year before, where we had funding for coach to get more women, female coaches.
Okay.
Is that right, Lesley? As before I started working here, was that right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
so, and you're too. But that's they're not necessarily something that can happen all the time. If something did come up, certainly I'm happy to let you know. I've
Yeah.
got your details. On
Thank
to
you.
anyone else?
Justin.
Hiya.
Hi, Beth.
Yeah, so I'm Justin, based in Fishguard in West Wales. So yeah, I guess there's a couple of things really. One is just around the course locations as well. I think the closest thing to us is Cardiff, which is about 2.5 hours on a good day. So just to put that out there as well. Cardigan, Aberystwyth is a lot easier and closer to get to, even Swansea. So yeah, Carmarthen. Yeah. Just to point on the funding thing as well, I know our local council in Pembrokeshire has quite a lot of like active travel grants, things like that, as well as some local energy. So we've got like a community wind turbine who put money back into the community, are always keen to do stuff. So it's worth kind of looking through that. But I guess my main question is just around, so I'm in the process of starting a new club in Fishguard, and mostly focused on kids development, really quite selfishly, because I don't want to travel kind of an hour and a half for my boys to have some cycling experience. And yeah, just thinking about the multi-discipline aspect versus the discipline aspect, particularly for kids. Because I guess there's two things really. Is one is, it's great to have the kind of level 1 or the new level 1 coaching that is multidiscipline, but then as kids kind of get into cycling, one might be really interested in road cycling, one might be interested in mountain biking. How could you go about that kind of coaching development, being able to support that? But then obviously if you have to kind of get a, say, mountain bike qualification, a road qualification, and say cyclocross qualification, that kind of starts to get quite expensive, and it's a big time commitment as well. I'm just wondering what would be the best way to kind of support that development as kind of, I don't know, a group of 10 kids, maybe 5 of them are interested in road, 5 of them are interested in mountain, and all of them are interested in cyclocross or something. So yeah, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. I think you might not like necessarily have the preferable. I might not have the preferable answer.
Yeah.
I guess my initial thought to you saying group of kids don't want to drive an hour and a half. That intro to coaching cycling, so what we used to call multidiscipline, is a really great start in terms of it gives those fundamental techniques of cycling that make it easier on the body, more enjoyable, more efficient, all of that kind of stuff. And in terms of kids coaching, that's a really great place to start. And that gives you so much opportunity to get them cycling well, but actually just to make it so much fun that they absolutely want to come back next week. When they then start to decide that they try different disciplines and they almost start to specialize, that's probably where I would then say you go back on that journey and start with intro to coaching, but a new discipline. I guess the ease of the reason that we chose off-road rather than having a mountain bike and a cyclocross one is that so many of those techniques of off-road are really relatable to each other. So rather than having to do 3 more intro to coaches, there's a road and an off-road. I guess that's probably not the answer that you wanted to hear, but I would say my initial answer would be that intro to coaching cycling gives those kids such a great grounding that you can then develop from.
Cool.
And it might be that in those few years' time that those kids do start to want to specialise, that you've grown the club sufficiently, that you've got somebody who has done the off-road rather than the cycling and somebody who's done the road. So actually those groups start to be with certain people rather than you specifically having to hold all 3 of them. Does that make sense, Justin?
Yeah, definitely. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, just to add to that, Justin. So I work for Beicio Cymru, and part of my remit now is supporting people in West Wales to start up clubs and things. So please, I've put my email in the chat, so please reach out to me because we want more clubs that are down anywhere in Wales, but more in that area where it's maybe a bit less represented. So far as we spoke about the funding aspect, and you were asked about the location. So yeah, obviously it's a bit of it is a bit of a supply and demand kind of thing, which makes sense. That we have used Carmarthen Velodrome, which is very much closer to you for certain disciplines. Another option that you may be able to explore, if I don't know the setup and demand for your club and volunteers, is the private course option. So what you could do as a club, if again in the same way, up to 8 learners, is your club could apply for a private course, which again we could coordinate, and support with that with British Cycling, and we could be at the venue in Fishguard if we could find a suitable venue, a big schoolyard with the size of 2 tennis courts, Lesley, something along that kind of size for a course like that. We could probably run a course in that location. It needs to have like a runnable water. There's a list I could send you, but if that was something that you wanted me to help and support you with, it's certainly something I'm happy to come and do, and I'm happy to have another call with you or meet up, and signpost you as best as possible, really.
Yeah, that sounds great, Mark. Yeah, I've got your email, so I'll send you something.
Yeah, reach out
something
and then
offline, and we
if
can get
I'm
something organized. Yeah, that'd be really good.
Are you coming to Aberystwyth, the road races, the British road race champs?
I would do, but we'll be in Annecy, so I'll be doing
no
stage 18 of the Tour de France this year instead. So
well, so it sounds quite exciting, to be fair. Yeah, Claire, if so I was at Aberystwyth on Friday. There was some children's races then. It might have been good for some of your riders there. So yeah, I'm happy to come in, chat and meet up. We'll have a call like this and we can discuss that. All right,
yeah,
mate?
sounds good.
All the
Cool.
best.
Thank you.
Any more questions in the room? We have got other people. That's fine if we haven't. That's absolutely fine. But Adele, I know we spoke briefly before the call. I don't want to put you on the spot or anything. Has this been helpful or giving you an idea of? Are you still listening? No, she's gone, but she's had it.
I guess the call out, folks, is whenever I've been on one of these and somebody said, has anybody got any questions? I go, no. And then as soon as I press that leave button, I think of something. If that is the case, you've got Mark's email. Pop Mark an email with any questions that you think of later. And Mark can forward kind of them on to me in terms of just getting any answers, or I will find out answers for you from the education team in Manchester. But there are lots of options. Have a think about what you'd like, what you might need, where you are, and we'll see what we can do. I have had a thought, Mark Edwards, about Carmarthen, but I'll talk to you separately.
Yeah, class, okay. Obviously, I forgot we got Pembrey Circuit as well down in Carmarthen, which we can utilise as well, which I forget for Justin. That's a good venue too. A bit closer.
Thank you very, very much for your time, folks. It's been really interesting to hear your questions. I really hope that the presentation that I'll share with Mark and the call and questions have been really useful to you.
Yeah, I've also put my number in the chat as well, so I'm always open for quick questions on what like WhatsApp and stuff as well. So if anyone's got any queries or questions or something you just want to ask, just drop me a WhatsApp, and if I don't reply, I'm not working, and I'll reply when I start working again. But usually I just reply anyway. So unless you become too annoying like me. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.
Can I just confirm? Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I just confirm? I mean, obviously, yours is more Welsh specific, but how do we find courses?
See, the link I've put in there under my email. So, Education Course Finder, I've filtered it so it comes up Welsh courses. But if you just, I don't know, where if you just delete that, and then literally you can just search in any course. Or, well, cycling, wasn't it, you wanted? So cycling, so there's a few coming up. Redbridge, no, that's off-road. So there's introduction, where are these places? Bradford, Herne Hill, Manchester, no... Yeah, there's a few
Manchester's
different...
the one, yeah.
Yeah, the coaching context. But yeah, if you just click on that link and search the specific, you know, if you wanted BMX, with cycling in your case, look for the introduction to cycling, and then it would come up, and then you can kind of filter the closest ones.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks very much. Yeah. Okay, and thank you for the information in that.
Yeah, no worries.
Sharon.
Right. Actually, I'll just stay on until everyone leaves. Then that's a good way of if maybe people might want to stay and ask a question. Stop the recording though.